Hey everybody, as you know by the title of the video, today is the long quality run day, and I'll share more about this workout with you as we get into it. But later on in this video, we're going to be talking with my coach, because 70.3 St. George was just a little over 3 weeks ago, and after taking a little bit of a rest week and talking with him about how everything went for me and how I wanted it to go, we're going to be making a couple really minor changes to how I'm looking at my training and what parts of the swim, the bike, the run that we're emphasizing. So again, nothing major, but really minor changes. And one of those changes is runs like today, emphasizing these half iron pace type efforts and getting more of them in the training. So more to come on that when I talk to my coach. Happy to share all that with you. Also, I'll be sharing down below in the description, leading into 70.3 Des Moines, my updated training plan. So take a look down below. You can see what I'm doing day by day. Let me know if you want more detail on that or less detail. Happy to answer any questions that you have about that down below in the comments. All right, about this workout, it's a 30-minute warm-up, which is what I'm doing right now, and then it's 8 miles run Ironman pace, which my goal pace is 7:30, so I'll be doing 1 mile at 7:40 pace, 1 mile at 7:20 pace, repeating that 4 times, total of 8 miles, plus a cool down. So I'll finish my warm-up, we'll get going.
Showing off, don't wanna have to wait tonight. Better off, I'm gonna find my way tonight. Won't you talk to me? I wanna heal your sorrow. Just talk to me. We'll make a new tomorrow.
All right, that was a really good run, and we're definitely gonna have to talk to my coach about why are we going to be putting so many of those quality half iron type efforts in. Overall, the run went really well. I'll put the times on the screen for you. Under time on all the miles except for the first, which really just accounts for needing a little bit of a warm-up, plus it kind of started on a bit of a hill, so it took me a little while to get my legs going, but I feel great. Gonna finish out this cool down, and then we'll talk to my coach. Let's go.
Hey everybody, and welcome. I am now here with my coach, Keith Kotar, a former professional triathlete, and my coach now for about a year, and been a pretty quick year. I'll put some other accolades of Keith's up on the screen so you guys can see those. You guys can read those if you want. Also, his website will be down below in the description. It's been a pretty successful year. I've had a 10K PR, I've had a 5K PR, and most recently I've had a 70.3 PR at a course on a day when very few people were PRing. So a lot of that, thank you, Keith, for getting me in the position to do that. I really appreciate it. Things are really starting to come into form, and I'm looking forward to 70.3 Des Moines. 3 weeks ago was St. George, and we've had a little bit of time to sit, both of us reflect on my training leading up to St. George. And today we're going to talk about how my training swim, bike, run is going to change to make sure we're capturing on the lessons learned from my last race. So Keith, with that, I want to turn it over to you, and maybe we'll just kind of dive through the topics of triathlon and tell me, based off what you saw in St. George, how is my swim training going to change for Des Moines?
So the swim training is pretty much just going to kind of start. I think that going into St. George, there wasn't a whole lot of swimming since you didn't have pool access. So I think just every day you get in the pool, the swimming is going to come back. You've always been a pretty good swimmer, going back to when we were in college, so I don't think we're worried about that. It's just kind of getting comfortable with the 2K. more than anything, and just feeling better. I don't really know that you need to go faster than you went in St. George. You'll probably naturally go a little faster, but just time in the water gets you a little bit more comfortable when you get out and get on the bike.
I feel like I have to go faster, honestly, especially because there was like 100, 200 meters in that race where the water was so cold, you're just trying to catch your breath, and I'm doing the breaststroke. Plus, I was extremely relaxed in that swim, so I really want to go faster, and I think that workouts you've prescribed for me already are going to help put me in that position. And even if it's marginal, I think a minute here or a minute there is going to be pretty important just to get me off in the right position. So, and you're right. Before St. George, I only had 7 swims. And since coming back, we're only 3 weeks past, and and one of those weeks I was on vacation. So I've already had 4 swims. So we're trending in the right direction. Awesome. Anything else on the swim?
I think that's the main thing. It'll be good too that you've got another race, so you get to do an Olympic distance in a couple of weeks and get an open water swim in.
Yeah. Don't spoil all the details of everything leading up to Des Moines, but
sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. There's a whole bunch of exciting content, and one of the weeks is just kind of a little bit of a warm-up race where I'll get some additional open water experience prior to. So I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. Okay, so let's get to the bike. The bike I felt has always been one of my favorite events. Probably a lot of triathletes feel that way. It's been one of my biggest strengths. What are we going to be doing differently for Des Moines?
So for Des Moines, I don't think we're going to change a whole lot. As far as our plan is the same as it was, because St. George was just kind of a benchmark, whereas Des Moines has been the goal. But now we're kind of getting into that strength endurance phase. And the last couple weeks before St. George, we kind of started that. And so you didn't really have a lot of half Ironman specific work before St. George. And so all that specific work is really getting going now and then into these last few weeks. And so I think we'll see a big benefit there. Especially since Des Moines is a lot flatter than St. George.
Yeah.
St. George, I think most people's power profiles are kind of funny just because there's so much down. You're kind of better off going a little higher than your planned power on the uphill, and then there's so much down, everybody's power kind of drops off. But in Des Moines, I think the amount of climbing on the bike in Des Moines is about the same as the amount of climbing in St. George's running. And so they're completely different courses. And so I think that strength endurance work is going to be really important just because you'll probably be in your aero bars 98% of the race.
Yeah. And
you're just going to be kind of holding that steady power the whole time.
Right. And that's something I wish I kind of recognized before St. George, because that 240, 250 power range that we were targeting is probably more that steady effort for me, where in St. George, I didn't capitalize on the downhills as much. So my average power was just way lower, and I talked about that in my last video. And if I get the chance to go back, I'll definitely, that's a lesson learned. You got to go harder on those uphills. You have so much time to coast and relax on the downhills. But I am looking forward to a race like Des Moines where it's going to be just a lot more of a flatter power profile, because that's something I can replicate a whole lot easier here when I'm training in the basement. So yeah, and I think this weekend's workout is like 2.5 hours with 4x20 at race power. So we're getting a lot more race specific. Let's jump in then to the run. And this is probably the area, since we've been working together over the past year, that I've seen the greatest improvement. And I think it's the area where I can continue to improve and really take chunks and chunks of time out. What are we going to be focusing on for the run in Des Moines?
So in Des Moines, it's kind of the same thing as the bike. We just kind of want to get that power number that we can hold. And so I've been kind of collecting all of the stride data that you've had from your bricked runs so that we can figure out what that power number is. Now the Des Moines run is a lot flatter than St. George, so we can kind of go by pace too, and you can kind of get a feel for a combination of the pace and the power. Mm-hmm. And then also the Midwest in the summer, it could be kind of warm and humid, so you may need to dial down the power a little bit. And so we'll kind of just get that number narrowed down as we get closer. But it's just going to be figuring out what the number is off the bike and then holding that for the half marathon.
Yeah. And you might think the Midwest is hotter, but St. George was 93 degrees. So that was something I wasn't prepared for going in. especially training here. Most of my workouts before St. George were indoors. I think we only had a handful of days even above 70. So yeah, I definitely need to acclimate to some warmer weather, get used to that. But I'm looking forward to, a more flat power profile on the run, and definitely going to result in a faster time for me personally. Awesome. So kind of recapping then, swimming, I just need to swim a little bit more. Biking, I need to be more specific on the bike and continue to bank some of those workouts, more of those workouts moving forward. And then the run, again, just a little bit more experience and better understanding what power I can hold off the bike, doing more of those bricks, which you're having me do after my long workouts, after some of my hard VO2 workouts, different things like that. We're going to really understand how hard can I push it off the bike. So we'll know what that target pace is going to be in Des Moines. Perfect. Thank you very much, Keith, for your time. Again, I appreciate it. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Des Moines and racing alongside of you once again. For those of you that are interested to, again, learn more about my training, check the description below, or learn more about Coach Keith here and what he could offer you, check out the link in the description. I'll make sure to put it all down there. Thanks a lot, Keith. We'll see everyone in the next one.
Thanks.